Hey guys, I just realized we haven't done an in-game video, so let's do one. This will be in the format of an exercise, which I think this will be the fourth exercise video. So I went into the KGS active games list and went to around the one done section. Went to a game that had lots of moves, thinking they'd be an in-game. I removed the names, and here we are. So our job is the game's not over yet. I just copied it and dealing with it. So now we're going to start going backwards until we find the spot where middle game ends and end game starts, which is by itself a good exercise. A lot of players don't even think about that, but it's actually very important to know opening, middle game, end game, where those start and stop. And it's not uncommon that um, we start the opening, then a fight breaks out. The opening's not even done, but now we're in middle game. The fight ends, we get back to the opening. And then end game starts, and then a fight breaks out, which takes us back to the middle game, and then back to the end game again. So these things aren't unusual, but knowing when we're in which. Okay, so I'm just going to go back to, okay, that's an end game move. We have a white group that's alive. That's end game. End game. White's alive, black's alive. It's all decided. End game. Just going back. End game. A bit of, it looks like white's attempting to kill, but that's, well, it's interesting. Black has bad shape there. Let me go back a little bit, just trying to decide. Okay, that's end game. Okay, let's keep going back. When does it start? Black lives in the corner. It's a middle game move. Okay, so in the upper right, how's the black group? Well, it's a bit awkward, right? This Atari said that black group is awkward. So that would be middle game. I want to see a little bit more. That's end game. Okay, so I'm trying to, when does it over? Just a second, let's find it. This is part of the exercise. And all these each exercise video I've done, you'll see it's, what word do we use? Monotonous. It takes time to to do these things. Okay. Here we're clearly in middle game. We have a white group here. Let's take it back to this. White group on the bottom, not alive. Let's see what happens. White's trying to live. We're in middle game. How do we know that? Because this area of the board is completely unknown. We don't know whose it is. Is it black's? Is white going to live there? We won't question the moves, just that white's trying to live. Looks like an eye. Is that an eye? Let's find out here. 1, that's an eye. Is that correct? Yes. That eye can't go away. Somewhere around 2, is that an eye? That's what they're trying to find out. This is the definition of middle game, is we're, boom. Okay, that threatens life. That threatens life. That threatens life. And white lives by connecting the two groups. Okay, that ends one middle game sequence. What's next? White goes to live on top. We're still in middle game. Okay, white's living. White's living. White lives. End game. Okay, we found it. So we just finished a number of exciting middle game sequences. And that last move is white claiming I am now alive. And black says, great, let's start end game. Okay, here we are. We found our end game spot. And they may break back into middle game soon. We'll see about that. But now that we're here, let me adjust my light a little bit. Let's mark all the in-game moves. Okay. We got your A, we got your B, C. Where do we put this one? Here? Oh, I think so. D. Boom, 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 boom. So notice I'm not going to mark moves like E yet because it's easy to see that's a 1 point in game. Yes, it's Sente, but 1 point. We're not to 1 pointers yet. So the tiny things we're not doing. What else? I'll go ahead and mark E. Not that one, not that one. E and F are the same thing. I'll mark them both. That has some size. And I think that's it. I could be wrong, but we'll find more as we go. Okay. And of course, the question is, where do you start? So the D area, black can kill those stones. How many points is that? If white plays D and connects out, that's our assumption is that connects out. Let me just double check that. Black can't cut that way. That's not a cut. If black tries cutting this way, the cutting stone dies. So yes, this white connects out. And we want to know how many points it is. White creates 0. Black creates 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that's 9 points, which is not necessarily the most important part of the question. More important is the quality of the points, which is, in this case, double gote. If white saves, it costs a whole move. If black takes, it costs a whole move. It's gote for whoever plays it. That is, by all means, the smallest kind of points. If you can take, just to carry on the example, it's black to play. So black plays, and what do we say? 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9 points. Okay. So now let's say, well, white has to answer that. That was worth let's say 6 points. So that's not a correct number, but let's say 6, and then 9. So even if you get 1 point in Sente, if it actually is Sente, then it's bigger than 9 points in Gote because the Sente is for free. So you get a sense of what a low value double Gote is. As a matter of fact, even Gote is small. Okay. So D being double Gote, not so big. even though it's 9 points. I think I told the story before, but I was watching a game review. There were 4 professionals, uh, 3 of which were 8 dan and above, and one, we're going back 45 years, and one super strong amateur, I think it was 8 dan, John Lee, I think was his name. And they're reviewing a game, and these pros are looking, they can't find the move. And they're looking at this and looking at that, and finally, John Lee speaks up and says, well, play here and kill the group, kill black. And it was 40 points. And it was the funniest thing. In unison, all the pro heads, they turned to him like it was choreographed. Oh, that's too small. Because it was gote, it was like double gote. It's like, oh, it's just too small. I just got such a kick out of that. Okay, so D, 9 points, double gote. Let's look at C. Well, where are we at? I don't want to do A so C. It's gote for black. White doesn't have to respond. But if white plays it, threatens to come in the corner. So I've always had a hard time with the term sente. So C is sente for white. Well, when it gets big enough, it doesn't question black's life. So if we allow white in, we do whatever we do, I'm just going to waste the stone, and white comes in, we can ignore. Oh, but then white comes in your corner. Yeah, at this point, that's what? 5 points? There's other things are bigger. So it's sente when the time comes, but it's not sente right now. Things are too big for that. Okay, so we're looking around. Where do we start in game? Okay, C, too small. E and F, really small. Not only is it double gote, but each black move is only 1 point in gote. And the white move, you need both before you get just a few. So E and F are just amazingly small. Now, this assumes white's alive, which he is. So E and F are off the board. D we looked at. G, if black plays it, is it sente? And this is a little bit interesting. If white doesn't respond, white has a 3 in a row shape. This is notoriously weak because the ladder's not going to work, the net's not going to work when we cut at Q6. The shape's bad. So, just giving some examples here. Let's say white had an amazing shape inside. Something was going on inside so that black A had no meaning because white's so strong, it's only points. Okay, then it doesn't matter. The 3 in a row doesn't matter. But in the game, that's a lot of open space. There's a cut at A, a cut at B, some weak stones. Maybe we'll end up cutting at C and getting the whole thing. As a matter of fact, we hadn't named that one yet. So this move holds great interest. On the other hand, how many points was it? Once I get it on the right button, I guess it was 1 point. Well, that's not very big. It's super interesting, but why can just answer? Now, in a real game, I'd be looking at this and going, okay, it's only 1 point. Now, I guess, looking from both players. It's interesting for both players. Since it's interesting, I would keep looking, going, well, what if I do it anyway? Oh, white'll just kill it. Ah, but then don't I get the cut and kill the entire group? Oh, so there's a lot of interesting things here. So we might call this endgame move very small, but promotes great interest. What's white going to do? How is white going to handle it? Will there be much Aji afterwards? So the right thing to do would be to read all this out. But since I'm lazy and you might be lazy too, and not just lazy, but that's a hard thing to do. What I would do is go, hey, look at that G move. That's interesting. And I know it's Sente. Sente to kill the whole D area. So I'm going to play it even though it may only be 1 point. Because now it's going to be easier to read because now it's more in front of me. It's a move along already. And I know which move white's going to use. So it's easier to read. Absolute Sente. I don't care about the point. So that would be early on my list of things to do is G. Okay, D we've talked about, and that's off the board because it's double gote. B, double gote, which makes it small. If white takes it, let me get on the right button. If white takes it, next there's a monkey jump in Sente. Well, monkey jump, generally speaking, is 9. And let's look at the value of this white move. White creates 0. So the only computation is how many points does black get, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's 5 points total, but it's 5 points in gote followed by 9 points in sente. Well, 9 points in sente is getting pretty darn big. Plus, as we'll see in the game, black's group has come into question because it looks like one big eye, and the 3-3 looks a little bit interesting. So the move itself is not that big, but will black ignore? Maybe it is Sente. It's kind of big in Sente. So that's interesting. That's way up there on my list. So G, very interesting for black. B is interesting for white, so black might want to take it right away to say, to heck with that. I do not want to answer this question. Is this Sente? I don't want to answer that question. That's a hard question. And I don't want to just give it to him when I don't need to. So if I play this, it's big and all my troubles are over. Okay, so that's high on the list. That leaves us with A, which is gosh darn big, right? That's white's one big area. White has to answer or it's massively large. So I would indeed play where he played for starters. Now let's follow that the way they did. Okay, black did that in Sente. Now that it's done, we see that black has this liberty deal, right? It's like black just found heaviness in his group, and that could cause a problem. Therefore, good time for this move because white coming down has become more interesting, more Sente. So why don't I just get rid of it? and give this to white. That was only 1 point anyway. So working out Endgame is something else. There's a Endgame book that's been around forever, and I've never been able to get through it. Too complex. The author, she gives an example from one of her own games, and you look at the end game. She's behind by however many points. I don't remember. It was like 5 or whatever. And when she looks at the end game, a natural end game being played out, she doesn't gain. She doesn't win. So she starts juggling the end game points in her head. Can I do this in an order where I gain some points? And she finds one. Now it's funny. So like, let's say there's 3 moves: a 10-point move and 2 8-point moves. Well, if I go out of my way to play, I'm not going to say this right. You'll have to bear with me. I play the 8-point move, they get the 10. Yeah, but then I get the other 8. So I end up getting 16 points. You can juggle things so that you gain points. And I'm so bad at it, I can't even say it right. But anyway, that in-game book, she does that. And it's like, I just can't follow along. I have it on my shelf somewhere. Okay. So was there anything else here? Well, let's do the step 2. Okay. Boom, boom. We'll play our own in-game black place here. And white says, that was pretty interesting. I'm going to save half of my group. I'm going to give this to black if he wants it. And I'm going to do that because when he comes up and there's this interesting cut, if I have this move in place and he tries to cut, I have this Atari. So we're trying to save half our problem and the cut is what we're trying to do. Where's my point with all the letters that I had? Oh, it's back here. Okay. G's interesting because of the cuts in here. So I'm trying to find a way to save that affects that interesting spot. Okay, I'm rambling. Let's get back to here. So we have played A and Sente, but we followed it with B because that got interesting. And then white fixed his problems. Okay, so we did the ABC. Those are the big ones at the time. Okay, so we looked at all the big ones. There were 6, something like that. And we go, oh, these are just small. They're not even in the running. That one's interesting, but no, still too small. Yeah, it's Sente, but it won't be Sente now. It'll be Sente later. Okay, that leaves us with 3 really big ones. And let's get them in the right order and do them. So you can see how complex in-game can be. Okay, so let's do it again here. Now we're off game. This isn't the game they played. So we'll try to name the big ones again. We know A's Sente at some point. Saving the B stones, still pretty darn big. C is very much Sente. If black doesn't respond, let's just look at that. If black doesn't respond, he has to back off. And not just that, but do you see the double Atari coming up? So that might mean something. So this C holds interest because it has a future. So moves with futures. What else? I don't want a circle, I want a letter. D, is it worth a point? Might not be. It might encourage black to take a point. So maybe this D, but that's a weak move. That's a Hani where he can threaten to cut in a minute and take points based on that cut. So that's not happening much. Let's talk about D. It's a knight's move. There's black stones around. It's weak. Well, yeah, but it doesn't work. Yeah, it's not the way to look at it. It's not, oh, it's weak, but it doesn't work. No, it's weak. Something works. Maybe it only means he picks up a point in Sente. Maybe it means he has a co-planned and he knows there's 3 co-threats there. Could mean a lot of things. So when you see a weakness, for instance, at D, you start thinking, okay, that's 1 point in reverse Sente. It solves one of my problems. And now I can play another 2-point move, which I might follow with, finally, I've been looking for how to make this sequence work. Oh, and I picked up all those points. So you can link things together. Okay, I'm doing a lot of rambling here. We'll see if George thinks this is worthy of being published. Okay, let's stop there. We've seen lots of examples of how to look at Endgame. I don't know if we've done much practical, but you're hopefully seeing a picture of how to start sorting through it. What's big? What's actually, hey, that's 9 points, but it's double Gote. It's so small. It's pretty interesting things. Okay, so we'll stop there. Thanks, everybody, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.